enough to be joined by the two co-founders of MassAdoption, Greg and Jeff. Thank you guys for taking some time
Thanks
to come on. Absolutely. So I wanted to start, as I kind of went down my Bitcoin journey and became a true Bitcoin maximalist, one of the things I knew I had to do was attend a Bitcoin meetup, and that's where I met both of you guys. So I'd love to kind of hear your story about what inspired you guys to kind of get a Bitcoin meetup kicked off in Boston.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we both sort of have our own little origin stories, but we quickly bonded together and formed MassAdoption. So I'll just start off because I think both angles are important. I mean, where it came from my perspective was last year in Austin at Bitcoin Takeover. I had the opportunity to spend some time with Matt Odell, and we were talking about Bitcoin meetups, and he asked which Bitcoin meetup I went to in the Boston area, and I didn't have a good answer for him. I had looked around a little bit, and there was some crypto and there's some blockchain and some combination of different things, and I hadn't been able to find like a Bitcoin only meetup. And I told Matt that, and he said, "Well, there's your opportunity. You should start one." So I came back to Boston, and it turns out there was a little gathering going on in downtown Boston, but I live out in the suburbs, so I figured, hey, I'll set something out in the greater Boston area in the suburbs, and started a meetup. Took Matt's advice and just said, I'll pick a brewery, I'll pick a date of the week, and just try to be consistent with it, month over month, and try to build a following and try to put something together that made people want to come out and talk Bitcoin. So that went on for about 3 months, and then I met Jeff. So I'll let him tell you where he came from.
So I was doing something similar to what Greg was doing, and I actually started the first kind of jump into the pool was that I connected with Tim Keefe, who started a Bitcoin fund. He's an ex-BlackRock guy, and he and I put together what you would say is a high net worth sort of meetup, and I invited a lot of professional people in my area, and we had it at Wellesley Country Club. And we were lucky enough on our first meetup, we had Greg Foss, Larry Lepard, someone from Off the Chain Capital talk at this meetup. So it was a very powerful meetup. And then Greg happened to see it on YouTube, and I think that's how he DM'd me. We met for coffee, and we quickly realized we're fighting the same battle, and we're 10 miles away from each other. We're like, why don't we do this together? And then how MassAdoption came about.
It was a classic. It was a classic, like two Bitcoiners meeting in a coffee shop and just feeling like we were living like the same life, like right. Watching the same stuff, listening to the same stuff. I mean, I guess it was, we were the Orange Pill app before the Orange Pill app. Getting together in real life and realizing that you weren't alone. But anyways, we got together. We realized right away that there was something powerful together, and we kind of merged the group and came up with the name MassAdoption, which we thought hit it perfectly in terms of what our mission is, and we had great people who had attended multiple like meetups month after month. You being one of them, and others like Ron and people that wanted to get involved and be a part of something and be able to put some of their time and effort into something meaningful. And so we have a great team, and it's just, we just try to hit it consistently every month. And one of the things we did add in, and I think it was inspired by what Jeff had done with his first meetup, was having guest speakers once a quarter to mix things up, give people a little bit of a breather for a couple months, but then hit them with somebody that they're interested in hearing, a topic that they're interested in learning more about, those types of things. So we've been trying every quarter to have a guest speaker, and that pace has worked out really nicely. And we're excited about next week because we have Luke Broyles lined up to join us. and we have over 90 RSVPs for next Thursday night. So we're expecting a great turnout, a really lively Bitcoin meetup, and yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Can I interject one other quick
It's
story
gonna,
about how the origination came about? You know, Greg and I decided
of
to do
course.
this, and I'm not even sure, Connor, and you were there. We had our first sort of lunch meetup, and we had sort of 5 or 6 people there that had gone to the meetups, and we went around the table and we talked about our vision, and we kind of went down the line as to like what your skill sets are, everyone there. And we quickly realized like everyone at that table had a skill set of what we would need to basically start a company or a mass adoption group and actually be able to execute from technical to web stuff to social media to energy. So it was really amazing that everyone at that table serendipitously were exactly what we were looking for, although we didn't realize that. So that birthed the group, and luckily you're part of it and a strong part of it. And it's just amazing that we could all come together, fight for the common goal, and no one's getting paid. I mean, we all work for Bitcoin, but everyone. I've been involved with many companies over 35 years, and this is the most seamless, most energetic, most efficient group of people I've ever worked with. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, for the listener who doesn't know, at that meetup, we came up with the name Mass Adoption because it's kind of short for Massachusetts Mass Adoption. And it is such a special thing in Bitcoin. I think the more you go down the rabbit hole, it's very easy to think, oh, this is inevitable. This is going to happen. Bitcoin's amazing. But we're still very early in it. And, in the same way Satoshi was like, I'm not going to ask for permission to, have a money that the bank can censor, that can use as a means of control. I'm just going to create this better form of money. I'm just going to go ahead and solve the Byzantine general's double spend problem. And he did that. And in the same way, like you mentioned, Greg, when you were talking with Odell and you're like, we don't really have something in Boston that I'm proud of. Well, I'm just going to go and create a meetup. And as a frequent attendee of the Mass Adoption meetup and a member of the group, I can attest that it has just solidified my Bitcoin journey, meeting other Bitcoiners in real life. I mean, I've listened to thousands of hours and read tons of books about Bitcoin, but nothing compares to meeting other Bitcoiners in real life and seeing the energy and enthusiasm and desire to help. And I think that's just a testament. Yeah, we might not be getting paid by mass adoption, but it's because we want to see a better world. We understand what this can do. And one thing I wanted to ask you, I know you guys are both entrepreneurs and have had successful businesses in the past. And one of the things that we're trying to do with mass adoption is onboard as many merchants as possible. And Ron and I have some dev work to do to build out the platform to make it easy for them. But I wanted to ask you guys, from your experience, what do you think are the biggest hurdles to merchants onboarding, and how can we as mass adoption help them realize the importance of this and realize that they don't have to eat the 3% Visa or MasterCard fee, and they don't have to rely on a bank that, as we've seen, these past couple months, doesn't matter if you're the 16th largest bank in the country, an SVB, you could be out in 24 hours in the social media age. So what are the biggest hurdles for merchants in the area, and how can mass adoption help overcome those hurdles?
Chip,
Well, I mean,
what you first?
I can talk from having 35 years being in the retail industry. And I think a lot of the hurdles are the same hurdles we have to transition individuals into Bitcoin. I mean, people are in their business. That's all they know. So when you suggest this, they think you're either crazy or they think you're close to being crazy. So there's challenges, but when I have them download like a Moon Wallet and I send them stats in 2 seconds, and I say that didn't go through a bank, that didn't cost any, it costs a penny to send. You can take it out anytime you like. There's no. Then they start getting like, well, tell me more, tell me more. But we are working at Mass Adoption, and we're working with IBEX Mercado in the back end to make it a seamless solution for retailers. So they don't have to think too much. Once we get them over the first hurdle of being afraid of the unknown, which I understand, we're looking to make it seamless. And right now we have 2 merchants we're working with. One is our vintage clothing partner. and we're going to be implementing that next Saturday. We're going there and setting her up to accept Bitcoin. And our other is this great new brew pub coming into Massachusetts this summer. I can let Greg talk about that more, but we have 2 clients we're working on to have them accept Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Nice. I just want to mention real quick on that point, Jeff. When you pull out a Moon wallet and you send someone $1, I've done that many times at various Bitcoin meetups to see the reaction on someone's face when it clicks. I don't have to KYC. I don't have to walk in a bank. I can download a app and have $1 worth of Bitcoin sent to me instantaneously for less than a penny. That reaction, I don't care how much that dollar might be worth in the future. Seeing that reaction for me every time I've done that is so worth it. And I'll let you go ahead, Greg. I had to mention it's such a cool
I
feeling to see
completely
that
agree, and
in
that's why
person.
that's my go-to. And Greg, you got to get your tail under control. Oh, it's a cat. Okay.
I didn't know my cat was going to be joining the podcast.
He's being abused. He was hitting you. But Conor, that is so powerful to share that experience with someone, and it brings me such joy, and I think it knocks down a lot of the roadblocks we have in front of us. Once they see that, it's so important.
100%. Change is scary, but seeing that just makes it, seeing that in action makes that change. Like, oh, this isn't scary. This is better. This is so much better than the current system.
So that's our goal, and we're going to continue
Looks,
on. We're starting with a couple, and if we
You
can
guys there?
execute and seamlessly do it, we're hoping hundreds in the New England area, and we'll go from there.
absolutely. Looks like Greg's cat got him. I'm sure I'll be back on here in a second.
Greg, so yeah, honestly, I'm looking next Saturday. Ron and I are going to the store, and we're going to onboard her to using IBEX Mercado to accept Bitcoin. And once we do that, it'll be such a great learning experience to get the merchant's reaction and what their pain points were, although I pretty much know what they are. And it's just exciting to get that under our belt. There he
I don't know
There
what
you
happened,
go.
but
There's back.
what Jeff was
No
sort of
worries.
teeing me up for is that I am with my wife starting a brewery called Doctor's Island Brewing Company, and we are proud to be in the mass adoption program for a merchant adoption, and we definitely are going to accept Bitcoin for beer, and I think probably be the first brewery to do so in Massachusetts. But I can tell you from being on that side of it now that I am actually a merchant. There's a couple things that are standing in the way of it being seamless, and one is just truly like the demand. So we got to keep working. It's a chicken and the egg. You got to keep working on, like you were saying, Conor, like getting people to understand the Moon Wallet and getting comfortable with that, and then realizing when they walk into a store and they say we accept Bitcoin, they actually want to do it, or that they it's not their first experience. So we got to keep working the education on like the demand side. On the merchant side, having just recently gone through some like point of sale pitches and trying to figure out like what's out there in terms of existing providers, they're not quite there yet. And that's the opportunity that exists for mass adoption to help hold hands, come up with solutions in this sort of interim period. Because I think ultimately, your Squares of the world, your Clovers of the world, your Toasts of the world, existing point of sale systems will come to realize that like the demand is there, and they'll start to incorporate these things seamlessly into existing infrastructure and hardware. But we're at a point right now where I'm talking to those people and they don't have a solution. So, it's a perfect opportunity for mass adoption, IBEX, coming up with something that can sit alongside an existing point of sale system and solve that problem of like accepting Bitcoin and being a merchant that can do it. But definitely two sides of the coin. Got to keep working the demand side. Got to keep educating the merchants, and so that it all comes together.
I can't wait for the day I can go in your brewery and scan a lightning thing and start, pouring some beer right after I stream you some sats while I'm pouring beer. It's going to be special.
I'm not opening up until I can accept Bitcoin. That's for sure. So it's going to be day one. Day one.
I think everything you said though ties in so perfectly with Jeff's point about how, change is scary to a lot of people. A lot of these merchants are grinding. They just want to make sure they're providing their customers, exactly what they're looking for. They're providing the most value. And I just think this idea of showing rather than telling is so powerful. And, all our children are going to grow up in a world where Bitcoin just always been a thing, and I love using the example of whenever anyone comes visits me in Boston, I'm like, yeah, you see these coffee beans right here? I bought these in El Salvador with Bitcoin. And before we had Bitcoin, what was I going to do? Like ship some US dollars in the mail down to El Salvador and hope, it's not like these people had access to Venmo if they're down in El Salvador or wherever. And the fact that I can just pull out my Strike, I can literally pay with US dollars in my Strike account. Strike handles all the back end stuff, and then they receive Bitcoin or US dollars or whatever they want. I mean, that is so monumental. And there are so many businesses like Western Union and the likes who, I'm not trying to crap on Western Union, but they're taking a very heavy fee from people who really can't afford to pay that fee to send money. And it's just amazing how many of these problems Bitcoin fixes. And I think there's going to be a lot of pain and challenge. But I think the more people you can show, this is not something you need to be scared of. Show them through action. Look how amazing this is. You don't have to sign up for a bank. You can just go ahead and transact with anyone in the world. I think the generations coming up, so many of these issues and challenges that merchants have been running into, Bitcoin just going to completely make them obsolete, especially with things like the Lightning Network growing as it is. And it's an exciting time when you can get past the all the change, because as we know, change can be very scary for human beings.
Yeah, I think it just underscores how we always come around to this, but underscores how early we are um, in the journey. Even though we've been on it collectively a long time, it feels like. But that's also what's exciting about it. Is to be that early, to be on the front edge, and to be bringing people along behind you, whether it's friends, family, customers, other merchants in the community, showing them the way, being a leader. I'm excited about all that, and I think it will happen. I think it will start to accelerate in terms of the adoption and people jumping on board. I think it's inevitable, and I do think it will accelerate.
Yeah, big time. I just finished the block size wars, and I mean, I knew there was a lot of contention between the big blockers and the small blockers, and Bitcoin Cash splitting off and becoming its own thing. But to your point about how early it is, all the people in Bitcoin now can have a huge influence. And if you're a leader and you try and bring positive change to this environment, you try and show people the way and help them realize Bitcoin is a bottom up system where anyone can opt in and you can run your node how you see fit. And the miners and these corporations who wanted the big blocks, they were not able to overcome that group consensus. So it just goes to show, if you're unsure where you can contribute in Bitcoin, there are so many different ways, whether that's writing articles, starting a meetup, starting a company. Bitcoin needs these leaders, it needs these people, and to show them that you can have a massive positive impact in this system. I think reading the block size words just really solidified that for me, because it showed against all this money, against all these powerful miners, against all these corporations, the people who are like, no, Bitcoin is a bottom up system. And just because all the miners and all this big money wants to increase the block size doesn't mean that Bitcoin's going to work that way. So for anyone who hasn't read it, I highly recommend it, but I couldn't agree more with you. We are very early, and the people in this ecosystem now can have a huge say. So whether you're a developer, a podcaster, just someone who doesn't
Well,
even know where to get started,
Conor, you
go
bring
ahead
up a
and
really
get
good point.
started.
I remember maybe 12 months ago, I was talking with one of my friends who's in the financial world, but he's a Bitcoiner. He's like, boy, I really want to work in the Bitcoin industry. And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to. I don't know what to do, And you just reminded me what you said. I didn't know what to do. And then less than 12 months later, Greg and I had put together Mass Adoption with the help of you and some other of our crew. And, we now have over 100. Our meetups keep growing by size every meetup. Our speaker series keeps growing by size. By large percentages, every meetup. We're throwing a festival in June, which was unimaginable less than 12 months ago. And so no one gave us permission. No one told us what to do. We just did it. And so I just, if I'm going to say something to the audience, like, I didn't know what I was doing either a year ago. I still don't know what I'm doing. And we're just doing it. So I would suggest whatever you're good at. If you're good at writing, if you're good at coding, if you're good at marketing, if you're good at social media, if you whatever you're good at, start doing it and link it to Bitcoin. And we have the wind at our back, in my opinion, and the future is much brighter in this Bitcoin standard world. So get on board and start doing something. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. I mean, I don't know if Greg feels the same way, but I've had a lot of butterflies or anxiety about the stuff we're doing because it's breaking ground by doing all this stuff. So there's no guarantee. We're not copying or modeling anybody. We're doing it ourselves. We're blazing a new path, and that's what makes it so exciting and rewarding. But the point is, we didn't read one specific book, How to Start a Bitcoin Meetup, or we just did. And so the point is, if people are thinking similar to the way I was thinking, just start doing something, and it will grow. That's my only suggestion.
Proof of work.
Maybe that'll be the first book I write.
That's
How to Start a Bitcoin Meetup.
the beauty of mass adoption. Like Jeff said, seeing it grow is just, it's like the more work you put in, the more effort you put in, the more people show up, and the more people are getting introduced to Bitcoin, the more people, come out of the woodwork to join like-minded people, and so it's pretty exciting to see it happen. We're coming up on our 12th month of consistency, and you just see the proof of work playing out month over
I mean,
month.
Greg, I remember like the first meetup I went to
Yeah.
was probably 9 or 10 months ago because you had done a few before me, and there was 8 kids at a picnic table at a brewery drinking a few beers. I'm like, oh, this is great. And now we've got over 100. We have more people RSVPing for Luke than we did for Jason Lowry 3 months ago. So it is just growing exponentially, and that is so exciting. Thinking back to where we started.
Yeah, it is. I mean, nowadays there are so many ways to stack sats too. I mean, it's great parting with, your fiat currency to buy Bitcoin, but you don't even have to do that now. You can offer a good and service, stuff like Noster. That seems like I'm literally getting streamed thousands of Satoshi posting on Noster, like posting a couple memes. People thought it was funny. Here's a little bit of value. I saw Derek Ross. He got asked he's one of the people helping one of the devs for Noster, the Noster protocol, and he wanted to try something, and he got asked to speak at I think it was some Bitcoin conference in Latvia. I could be wrong on that, Honey Badger conference. But anyways, he's like, like it's hard to get off. I'm not sure I have the cash. I want to try something. I'm going to raise funds on Noster. If you guys want to see me speak at this conference, I'd ask you to send me X amount of Bitcoin. He raised all the funds, and then he raised the funds, and people were still sending him sats. And he's like, hey guys, I raised the funds. Send those sats to someone else. So just this community, this how cool is that someone was able to use Noster and the Lightning Network to fund their trip to speak at a Bitcoin conference they otherwise would not have been able to speak at. I mean, that's just like a testament to this community, and all this stuff is growing exponentially. So for kids now not have a big net worth, well, those 1,000 sats you get streamed for providing some sort of value online, whether that's shit posting, writing articles, you name it, do it. I mean, don't be afraid to dip your toes in. And Noster's great too because it teaches you how to use private keys and make sure you're managing those private keys effectively. It's just like in Bitcoin, as much as we like to crap on the banks, if you fat finger a Bitcoin transaction and mess it up, there's no way you can call and say, hey, I need my Bitcoin back. It's just your Bitcoin's gone. So I think getting that private key practice with a Nostr account where, I mean, if you really build a portfolio, the stakes are high. But if you're just logging in for the first time, it's not that big of a deal if you lose your private key. So start there, and it's like I said, it's growing exponentially.
Good point. It's a good point. Should we talk about the festival a little bit?
Yes, please. That's exactly what I wanted
transition.
to get into. For anyone,
yeah. So we're having a Freedom Festival, June 24th, Saturday, June 24th in Boston. It was an idea that probably I think we started to think about 6 months ago, and it was just sort of rolling off the backs of the meetup, and we said we should throw a festival and have it be powered by Bitcoin. Again, just the same mission, trying to preserve like people's freedoms and sovereignty through the mass adoption of Bitcoin, the introduction of Bitcoin, and the power that has to protect your freedoms and your sovereignty. So the festival sort of came out of that, and we said, hey, let's have some fun, let's have some music, let's get a bunch of people together, and let's be able to spend Bitcoin at the festival for food and for activities and for vintage clothing. Um, and so that's the idea behind it. Is really, it's not only for Bitcoiners, it's for anyone who enjoys their freedom that they have here in the United States, and wants to preserve that going forward. So one of the big things is, we want to have a place for Bitcoiners to have fun, but we'd love for a lot of people to get introduced to Bitcoin for the first time through our festival. And Jeff, why don't you can talk about the ticket price, because I think that sort of speaks to exactly what we're trying to do.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. We are truly trying to get people to adopt Bitcoin and understand it. So right now the ticket price stands at $60, but $10 of that 60 you're going to get back in Bitcoin as you enter the festival. So the ticket's only 50, but so basically the $10 we're almost, if you will, forcing you to use the Bitcoin to buy food or to buy a vintage T-shirt or to buy some merchandise. So we're actually showing people that it's easy to download, it's easy to spend, and so we're kind of locking people in to spend Bitcoin at the festival. So we find that very exciting. It's more than just. So we want this is probably one of the only Bitcoin conferences that we want altcoiners and we want no coiners to come to this festival, because they're going to be pushed into getting Bitcoin on their phone and spending it. And then we'll see, we'll talk to them after the end of the day. But
Yeah, absolutely. When they see how seamless the Lightning Network is and that their coin that promised all these transactions is kind of
right,
obsoleted by Bitcoin already,
right.
it's a very
And
powerful thing.
The one thing is we're lucky enough to have as our lead sponsor Foundation Devices. And they're a hardware device that you can cold storage your Bitcoin on. And it's perfect with what we're doing, because that's the ultimate, is eventually get you to cold storage.
And they
Yes.
also have just come out with a soft hot wallet called Envoy that syncs with Passport, but it's a mobile wallet. So there could be some exciting things to introduce people to via the
Yeah.
Envoy app. But yeah, I mean, we're recognizing that there's going to be people there maybe for the first time getting their first Bitcoin. So we'll make sure we have people holding people's hands, helping them download wallets, walking them through the process. Nothing would make us, happier, and nothing would speak to a more successful festival than, at the end of the day, if we had hundreds of people who walked in looking for a good time, believed in freedom, and got introduced to Bitcoin and walked out with a few sats still left in their wallet, and with maybe a little bit of curiosity to go learn more.
Yeah, and the plug foundation a little more. Zach is a frequent attendee of the Mass Adoption Meetup. Great guy, and I know that he is working with Foundation to make it so you can keep your private key secure on your Foundation device for Nostr. So if you've already created your private key, you can't upload it. But if you haven't created a Nostr account yet, I know with Foundation you're going to be able to create that and keep your private key on your Nostr or your Nostr private foundation. And I think two foundations, I love their Envoy wallet, and you can hook that up directly. You can hook that hardware, that Envoy wallet on your phone up with the Foundation Passport. And I think that model, especially for people who aren't down the Bitcoin rabbit hole enough to start running their own node at home, or they don't have a, I think that is such a good way to increase security, teach more people how to use their iPhone with an actual hardware wallet. Because Moon Wallet's great, but your iPhone is more susceptible to being hacked. If you really build up a large volume on it, you want to have a cold wallet that's not connected to the internet at all times. And I think what Foundation is doing is very important for the Bitcoin community to understand. You can have the convenience and the UI that comes with having an app on your phone, but then also the security of knowing that your keys are on a device that never actually touches the internet.
Yeah, agreed. And we're so happy. Foundation is a Boston company. Zach has supported our meetups all throughout the year. and we're just gleaming that they've decided to partner with us and support us for the. Well, it's just perfect.
Yeah, and like Greg was saying, Boston is a special place. It's kind of where this country was birthed. We had the Boston Tea Party. We had, anytime I've been at a Bitcoin meetup and like we've been at like a coffee shop for bit devs or something, this is too funny that back before, people revolted against the British, they were in coffee shops, talking crap, like no taxation without representation, all this stuff. And here are the Bitcoiners 250 years later. We have all these cycles colliding. Seems like everything's breaking down. Everyone's running around like a chicken with their head cut off. And Bitcoiners are like, we're building for a better world. We're finally going to have money that people opt into, that we control, that people can't take from us. The British guy said it. He's like, the United States always does the right thing after they've exhausted all of the wrong options. And then they finally do the right thing. And, it really hit me when we heard BJ Dichter giving a speech at one of our mass adoption meetups. And he just talked about what went down in Canada with the truckers. And, for a long time, Canada likes to rank themselves as like so high up on the Freedom Index, and they believe in peaceful protests. And that's all the trucker protest was. They were peacefully protesting. Um, and to see them get demonized and all that, it was just very powerful to hear BJ come down and give a talk about what the freedom in the United States means, and we should cherish that, and we should not let that go. And I think to anyone who's listening who might be on the fence, meeting other Bitcoiners in real life, from my personal experience, has been such a powerful and encouraging thing that just makes me want to keep working and giving and contributing to this space. So for anyone who's hesitant or on the fence, I can't recommend enough checking out the festival and actually seeing firsthand the change we're talking about. Because like you said, change can be very scary. And I think connecting Bitcoiners is the best way to help people understand why we're vying for this change.
Shep, can I just add one more thing about BJ Dichter? So you just
Of
summarized
course.
BJ's journey very well, and he was at the head of protecting the truckers accepting Bitcoin up in the convoy up in Quebec. He is one of our lead partners, speakers at the festival. I mean, he knows about his freedoms, getting washed away slowly but surely. So he's coming down to the festival with some trucks, and he's going to speak to the crowd, and he's also going to sing the U.S. national anthem at our Freedom Festival. So we're very excited to have BJ participate in this festival with us.
I mean, there's more and more every day like that's sort of like bolting onto our festival. But we're excited that Texas Slim is going to be joining us through the beef initiative, and he's going to be putting on a cattleman's feast. And so that will be an add-on. That'll be sort of an extra charge on the ticket price, but I think well worth it
Can you describe what
because
the Cattleman's Feast entails to the best of your knowledge?
to the best of my knowledge, and basically what a cattleman's feast is, especially the way that Slim does it through the Beef Initiative, is really it's about education. It's about food education, and what I mean by that is, you know, understanding like what you're eating and where it came from. And we are sourcing a cow from that grew up in
Locally,
Massachusetts
right?
on a farm. Okay, stayed on that same farm from birth to till it goes to slaughter. Um, it was cared for. It was fed. Kind of understanding everything that goes into what you're eating is important, and that's kind of what the Beef Initiative is all about. And understanding all aspects of the cow and all the parts of the beef that you and cuts that you can eat. Um, I think so much of that is lost today when most people just go to the supermarket and they it's about styrofoam and plastic and some cut of beef that's under there, and no one knows where it came from. No one knows anything about that cow and what it went through and who cared for it, and all that stuff has just been lost on us. So it's really about understanding what you're eating healthy, um, eating local, and so those are some of the themes that we're really excited about. And I know Texas Slim, wears his heart on his sleeve about this issue. He's like a huge spokesman for this. He's going all around the world talking about the importance of you know, shaking your rancher's hand, knowing where your food comes from, eating healthy, you know, getting yourself fit, and staying in shape, and you know, building sort of local circular economies around food is just like one of the big things that I think is going to help us, you know, move forward as a healthy society. So, you know, it's all about education, is what he says. It's not just a barbecue, you know, where we're slapping meat on someone's plate. It's like people are going to go through the line and understand exactly what they're eating, get educated along the way, and it's according to Slim, because I haven't been to one yet. It's probably the tastiest beef that we're ever going to taste. So.
And some of the importance Slim feels, the reason why this is so important is because we don't know where the food comes from. We don't know how it's processed. So by understanding, knowing your rancher and knowing that the beef was raised locally, grass fed, grass finished the whole way through, you can be assured that those animals do not get the antibiotics, the if you will, vaccines that are being put into animals. So you're getting a much purer food through a relationship with your local rancher, and that's really what the Beef Initiative is all about. He says something like from dirt to mouth or something.
Appreciate you listening to all of episode 14 of the Conor Chepenik podcast. We had some audio difficulties afterwards, so I cut the podcast there. But as you heard, if you're a Bitcoin and freedom lover, get your ticket to the Mass Adoption Freedom Festival. Excited to put that on with Greg and Jeff, and excited what we're doing at Mass Adoption. And if you're a merchant in the New England area looking to adopt Bitcoin, reach out. We'd love to work with you guys and help make adopting Bitcoin a reality.